Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we have a spine-tingling treat for all you thrill-seekers out there. We're diving deep into the mysteries of the ocean with not one, not two, but three bone-chilling ocean horror stories that will leave you questioning the depths of the deep blue. From luxury cruise ships encountering a bloodthirsty sea deity on a tropical paradise to snorkelers stumbling upon a vengeful underwater graveyard, these tales will keep you on the edge of your seat. So, grab your life jackets and brace yourself for a journey into the unknown as we explore these terrifying and suspenseful ocean horror stories. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest spine-tingling tales. Beneath the abyss, the deep-sea horror. The vastness of the ocean has always fascinated me, its depths holding secrets that humankind has only begun to uncover. As a deep-sea diver, I've spent my life exploring the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. But nothing could have prepared me for what I would encounter on that fateful expedition. It was a crisp morning when our team of seasoned divers set out from the coastal town of Harbour Cove. We were on a routine mission to explore the ocean floor, mapping out the terrain and cataloguing any interesting discoveries. Little did we know that this expedition would be like no other. Our dive team consisted of 4 experienced divers, myself, Captain Jackson, Sarah, and Ben. We descended into the deep blue waters, our excitement palpable as we marveled at the beauty of the underwater world. Sunlight danced through the clear waters, illuminating a kaleidoscope of colours. As we descended deeper, the ocean transformed into an eerie, shadowy realm. The pressure intensified and the temperature dropped, but we were well prepared, our suits and equipment designed to withstand the harshest conditions. It was Sarah who first spotted it, an entrance to a cavern that appeared to have been carved by the relentless forces of the sea. Its dark, foreboding mouth beckoned us, and our curiosity got the better of us. Captain Jackson signalled for us to follow him as we entered the underwater cave. Inside, the walls of the cave glistened with phosphorescent algae, casting an eerie, otherworldly glow. The passage was narrow and winding, and the further we ventured, the more our sense of excitement turned to unease. The tunnel seemed to go on forever, and we began to lose track of time. It was then that I heard a strange, guttural noise echoing through the cave. It was a sound unlike anything I had ever heard before, and it sent shivers down my spine. "Did you guys hear that?" I asked, my voice trembling. Sarah and Ben exchanged worried glances, but Captain Jackson brushed it off as the creaking of the cave walls. "It's just the pressure, playing tricks on your ears," he reassured us. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As we continued our descent, the strange noises grew louder and more frequent. It was as if the cave itself was alive, whispering secrets that we were not meant to hear. Suddenly, the tunnel opened up into a vast cavernous chamber. The walls were covered in strange, otherworldly markings, and the ceiling seemed to stretch into eternity. But it was the floor of the cave that held our attention. Lying there, in the centre of the chamber, was a massive, grotesque creature. It resembled a nightmarish fusion of various deep-sea creatures, with tentacles that writhed and flailed in all directions. Its enormous, lidless eyes stared at us with a malevolent intelligence that sent chills down my spine. We should have turned and fled, but we were frozen in place, unable to tear our eyes away from the abomination before us. The creature emitted a low, guttural growl, and I felt a surge of terror unlike anything I had ever experienced. Captain Jackson signalled for us to retreat slowly, but it was too late. The creature lunged forward with lightning speed, its tentacles snaking out to ensnare us. I watched in horror as Ben was pulled into its grasp, his screams echoing through the chamber. We tried to fight back, but the creature's strength was overwhelming. Sarah and I managed to break free, but Captain Jackson was not so fortunate. He was pulled into the creature's maw, and the cavern was filled with the sickening sound of bones crunching. Sarah and I swam for our lives, back through the winding tunnel, our hearts pounding in our chests. The creature pursued us relentlessly, its monstrous form filling the passage behind us. I could hear its enraged growls and the swishing of its tentacles as it closed in. We emerged from the cave, gasping for breath, our bodies trembling with fear. The creature did not follow us out into the open ocean, but I knew that we were not safe. It had tasted our presence, and it would not rest until it had hunted us down. We regrouped on the surface, our minds racing as we tried to make sense of what had just happened. Captain Jackson was gone, and Ben's lifeless body would never be recovered. We were stranded in the middle of the ocean, our only lifeline to the surface severed. We radioed for help, but the response was grim. A violent storm was brewing, and the waves were becoming increasingly turbulent. It would be hours before a rescue team could reach us, and we were running out of time. As the storm raged on, we huddled together on our small boat, trying to keep warm and stay dry. The thunder roared overhead, and lightning illuminated the dark, churning waters. But the storm was nothing compared to the terror that awaited us beneath the surface. As night fell, the creature returned, its massive form rising from the depths of the ocean. It circled our boat, its grotesque tentacles reaching out, probing for any sign of weakness. I could see the hunger in its eyes, the insatiable desire to claim us as its next victims. Sarah and I clung to each other, our fear overwhelming as the creature continued its relentless assault on our boat. It was as if it had become a living nightmare, a relentless force of nature that would not be denied. Hours passed, and the storm finally began to subside. The creature seemed to sense that its time was running out, and it disappeared back into the depths of the ocean. We watched in horror as it vanished, knowing that it would return and that our ordeal was far from over. As the rescue team finally arrived, we were pulled from our small boat, our bodies shaking with exhaustion and fear. We tried to explain what had happened, but our words were met with skepticism and disbelief. No one would ever believe the horrors we had witnessed beneath the surface. I often lie awake at night, haunted by the memory of that underwater cave and the monstrous creature that dwells within it. I know that it's out there, waiting for its next unsuspecting victims, and I can only hope that no one else will ever stumble upon its lair and face the same terrifying fate that we did. Whispers of the abyss. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the pristine beaches of our tropical paradise. My friends and I had been looking forward to this vacation for months, and the crystal-clear waters beckoned to us with promises of adventure and relaxation. Little did we know that beneath the serene surface lay a nightmare we could never have imagined. Our group consisted of 5 friends: Sarah, David, Emily, Michael, and myself. We had rented a charming beachfront villa and spent our days lounging by the shore, sipping on fruity cocktails and soaking up the sun. But on the 4th day of our vacation, we decided to explore the underwater world that had always captivated us. We rented snorkeling gear from a nearby dive shop, our excitement palpable as we donned our masks and flippers. The waters were exceptionally clear that day, and we swam out from the shore, following the gentle curve of the coastline. As we ventured further, the coral reefs beneath us came to life, teeming with vibrant marine life. It was a mesmerizing world of colors and shapes, and we felt like explorers in an alien landscape. But as we swam deeper, the world around us began to change. The coral formations took on a strange, otherworldly appearance, and the water grew colder. The once clear waters became murky and dark, and an eerie silence settled over us. We exchanged puzzled glances, but continued to swim. Unable to resist the lure of the unknown, suddenly Sarah let out a gasp through her snorkel and pointed downward. We followed her gaze, and our hearts nearly stopped. Below us, resting on the ocean floor, lay a vast underwater graveyard. Skeletal remains, draped in tattered algae-covered clothing, littered the seabed. The bones of long-dead sailors and divers lay tangled in a macabre embrace, as if they had been trapped in an eternal, watery embrace. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. "We should go back," David muttered, his voice trembling with unease. But before we could react, a bone-chilling wind swept through the water, causing the corpses to stir. The skeletal figures slowly began to rise, their empty eye sockets fixed upon us with a malevolent intensity. We watched in horror as they swam towards us, their bony fingers outstretched. Panic coursed through our veins as we tried to swim away, but it was as if an invisible force held us in place. The vengeful spirits closed in on us, their skeletal hands reaching out to touch our flesh. I could feel their icy grip, and a sensation of suffocating dread overwhelmed me. The spirits whispered in strange, haunting voices, their words incomprehensible but filled with a deep, primal anger. I could feel their anger and resentment, a burning desire for revenge that seeped into my very soul. Desperation overcame us, and we fought to break free from their grasp. Emily managed to tear herself away, her screams muffled by the snorkel. She swam frantically towards the surface, and the spirits turned their attention to her, their haunting wails echoing through the water. We watched in horror as Emily was enveloped by the spectral figures, her body disappearing into their ghostly embrace. The water churned and frothed, and then she was gone, leaving behind nothing but an empty mask and snorkel floating on the surface. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized the terrible truth. We were trapped in the underwater graveyard, and the vengeful spirits would not rest until they had claimed all of us. Michael, David and I clung to each other, our hearts pounding in our chests as the spirits closed in once more. We swam as fast as our terrified bodies would allow, but it was futile. The spirits were relentless, and one by one they reached out to claim us. David was the next to be taken, his screams echoing through the water as he was dragged beneath the surface. Michael and I were the last ones left, our bodies trembling with fear. We knew that there was no escape, that we were doomed to join the ranks of the restless dead at the bottom of the ocean. The spirits closed in, their bony hands outstretched, and I closed my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. But just as their icy fingers brushed against my skin, a blinding light pierced through the darkness. The spirits let out agonized wails and began to retreat, their forms dissipating into nothingness. Michael and I watched in our way as the light surrounded us, lifting us from the depths of the ocean and into the safety of the surface. Gasping for breath, we looked around, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The underwater graveyard had vanished, replaced by the clear blue waters of the ocean. Emily, David and Sarah were nowhere to be seen, and we knew that they were lost to the vengeful spirits forever. We swam back to the shore, our bodies exhausted and our minds reeling from the ordeal. We tried to tell our story to the authorities, but no one believed us. They dismissed our account as a product of exhaustion and hallucination. But Michael and I knew the truth. We had witnessed something beyond our comprehension, something that defied all logic and reason. The underwater graveyard was a place of darkness and death, a realm inhabited by Vengeful spirits who would stop at nothing to claim their victims. As I lie in bed at night, haunted by the memory of that fateful snorkeling trip, I can still hear the whispers of the abyss, the haunting voices of the spirits who sought revenge from the depths of the ocean. And I can only hope that their malevolent presence remains hidden beneath the waves, forever out of reach of unsuspecting souls like us. Island of the bloodthirsty Deity. Luxury cruise ships always promised a world of opulence and relaxation, and my voyage on the majestic Azure Serenity was no exception. The ship was a floating palace, with everything one could dream of: fine dining, endless entertainment, and breathtaking views of the open ocean. But our journey was about to take a nightmarish turn, one that would shatter our notions of paradise. The evening had been calm and serene, with passengers enjoying gourmet meals and dancing under the starlit sky. But as the night wore on, a dark and ominous cloud bank loomed on the horizon. It was a storm of unparalleled fury, with thunder that shook the ship to its core and waves that crashed against the vessel with an unforgiving ferocity. I watched from my cabin window as chaos unfolded on deck. Passengers and crew members were tossed about like ragdolls, their terrified screams mixing with the roar of the tempest. Panic surged through the ship, and I clung to my bed, praying for the storm to pass. Hours felt like days as the ship was battered mercilessly by the storm. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the tempest relented. The Azure Serenity, battered and bruised but miraculously afloat, had emerged on the other side. But our relief was short-lived as we realized we were no longer in the open ocean. The ship had been driven off course and had come to rest in the calm waters of an uncharted island. The sight before us was like something out of a postcard. Palm trees swaying gently in the breeze, pristine white sandy beaches, and lush tropical vegetation. It seemed like paradise, a place untouched by time. As the passengers disembarked to explore this newfound paradise, a sense of awe and wonder filled the air. We wandered through the jungle, discovering exotic flora and fauna, and basked in the beauty of this unspoiled land. It was as if the island had been waiting just for us. But as the days turned into weeks, the sense of enchantment began to fade. Strange things began to happen. Passengers started to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only their belongings and unanswered questions. Panic and paranoia swept through the survivors. I joined a small group of passengers who decided to investigate these disappearances. Armed with makeshift weapons and fueled by fear, we ventured deep into the heart of the jungle. It was there that we stumbled upon a shocking discovery, a hidden temple, its walls adorned with grotesque carvings and ancient blood-stained altars. The temple's entrance led to a cavernous chamber illuminated by the eerie glow of torchlight. In the center of the chamber stood a grotesque statue of a sea deity, its tentacled visage both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It was then that we realized the horrifying truth. This island was a sacrificial ground for a bloodthirsty sea deity. As we continued to explore the temple, we discovered a series of underground tunnels, each leading to a chamber filled with the remains of the missing passengers. Their bodies had been brutally mutilated, their blood offerings to the sea deity. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, and our stomachs churned with horror and revulsion. We knew we had to escape this cursed island, but the deity's followers were relentless in their pursuit. They were natives of the island, their bodies adorned with gruesome tattoos and carrying weapons made from bone and stone. They appeared out of nowhere, surrounding us with a malevolent intent that sent shivers down our spines. We fought desperately to defend ourselves, but we were outnumbered and outmatched. One by one, my companions were taken down by the savage islanders, their screams echoing through the temple. I managed to escape through a hidden passageway, my heart pounding with terror. I fled through the jungle, pursued by the relentless followers of the sea deity. The island itself seemed to conspire against me, with vines and roots reaching out to trip me and thick foliage obscuring my path. It was as if the very land itself was determined to protect its bloodthirsty god. I came to the shore, my breath ragged and my body battered. But there was no escape. The islanders closed in, their eyes filled with a fanatic zeal as they prepared to make me the next sacrifice to their sea deity. Desperation overcame me as I realized there was no way out. I was trapped on this island, doomed to become a part of its dark and ancient ritual. The followers of the sea deity closed in, their chants growing louder with each passing moment. As I stood before the grotesque statue of the sea deity, I closed my eyes and offered up a silent prayer. But there was no salvation to be found here, no hope for escape. I could feel the presence of the deity, its malevolent gaze fixed upon me. And then, just as the islanders were about to strike the final blow, the ground beneath us shook violently. The temple crumbled, and the sea deity's statue was shattered into pieces. A massive, monstrous figure rose from the depths of the ocean, its tentacles reaching out to engulf the islanders. The sea deity had been real, and it had returned to claim its followers. The islanders' screams echoed through the air as they were dragged beneath the waves, their sacrifices finally accepted by their bloodthirsty god. I watched in horror as the island was swallowed by the sea, the temple and its followers disappearing beneath the churning waters. The azure serenity, battered but afloat once more, had come to rescue me just in time. As I stood on the deck of the ship, the island sinking into the depths of the ocean behind me, I couldn't help but wonder if the sea deity would one day return to exact its revenge. The memory of that cursed island and its bloodthirsty god would forever haunt my dreams, a reminder that even paradise could hide the darkest of secrets. Thanks for watching. To support us, please like and subscribe.